So if you're going to do a rear lift on the back of your Tacoma, this is the condition you want to go ahead and start off in. Jack stands underneath both frame rails as high up as you can get them based on the jack and jack stands that you have. And in my case, the axle was drooping so low that the tires were still on the ground. So I had to put the floor jack underneath the rear differential and go ahead and raise the axle up so I could get the tires off. So I knew about this bolt, but I definitely almost forgot it. So before you start taking your leaf pack apart, 12mm box end wrench seems to be the best way to get to this fastener. So now that I went ahead and took the U-bolts out, I did go ahead and remove the lower shock bolt just so I can go ahead and droop the axle as much as possible. So with everything disconnected from each side, you got to make sure that your axle is reasonably balanced. You want to be able to kind of tilt it back and forth like that so you can assemble and line everything up when you're done, but you don't want it to droop all the way to the ground where you can tug on brake lines and wire harnesses. So I'll just mention that with everything now completely disconnected, the axle is definitely very wobbly. So just to give it a little more support, I did find something to kind of wedge up underneath the drive shaft just so the drive shaft didn't flex down and the axle come too far forward. So go ahead and rig up some C-clamps so you can hold your leaf packs together. And then you're going to use a 14mm socket on this nut on the top. And you are going to need some channel locks or some vice grips to grab the head and prevent it from spinning. Bonus points, if you have a fast air impact wrench, you're not going to actually need vice grips on the bottom. It'll actually just spin the nut fast enough to knock it out. So with the add-a leaf, you can see that this bottom leaf is not symmetric from where the centering pin is. This section right here is quite a bit longer than this section right here. And so for trimming the overload leaf, you got a couple different options. One, you could just basically treat it like you're making your own block. So I just lined up my old 1-inch block, took a Sharpie, drew some lines there, and you can literally just cut out the center section, make it a block. You could try and trim it a little bit longer and have it actually serve as an overload leaf. So all of the different performance leaf packs that I just kind of looked at pictures online, none of them have an overload leaf that spans and supports multiple leaves. It's always no longer than the bottom leaf typically. So you can see my trimmed up overload leaf, which is basically a glorified 1/2-inch shim at this point, but I trimmed it basically just right to the start of the pyramid notch on this bottom stubby spring, which of course I mentioned is asymmetrical, so one end is going to be longer. I spent a bit of time with a flap disc rounding up the corners so that way when the pack does get fully flexed out, it's not going to create a sharp edge. It can create a stress concentration in the bottom of the leaf and everything should flex relatively smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and prep the Headstrong leaf pack for assembly. I'm using Silglide silicone-based brake lubricant, but you can use any other type of automotive grease. To grease the leaf springs, I am going to just lay them out in the same orientation, making sure not to switch them around because they are not symmetric. And I'm going to start with the longest one. I'm just going to put a bead of grease along the top. And I'm just going to go down the line. So I've got rubber gloves for this, so I'm just going to smear it all over the leaf spring to try and eliminate as much squeaking and friction noises that you can. I'm probably putting way too much grease on here now that I'm looking at it, so maybe do a little bit less than what I did. I'll have to clean this up before I actually put it all together. And then I've got my stack at the bottom. So I am going to put the modified overload leaf directly on the bottom of here, but this did come with the shim, so I am going to put some grease just on both sides of this little sheet metal shim. Check the orientation of this, make sure that I've got that oriented correctly. And now I've got my pinion shim. So, go ahead and droop the axle as far down as you can go, and you're going to slide it in. And it will be kind of difficult because you have the extra long centering pin. And now I've got the centering pin through this first leaf spring. There are thin metal shims in between those, so I did make sure I greased those as well while I had the leaf pack apart. You're going to want to make sure that you get the hole lined up. And I find it easier to just kind of flex back and forth to find the hole. So it took a bit of rocking that axle, but I think it's lined up. So now I'm going to use the jack to raise the axle. So I have just enough thread sticking out to put this nut on, but now I'm going to get some C-clamps and start compressing the leaf pack together so I can gradually tighten down this centering pin nut. So with the axle fully drooped, I was able to shift it forward and kind of droop it down enough. I could get the C-clamp directly on the actual shim right next to the head of the centering pin. That way I can go ahead and tighten it really close to the pin and go ahead and get the centering pin good and tight, as they say. I've read 30 foot-pounds, I've heard more, but you know, really this is, I would argue, mainly for assembly. Make sure the head itself is not spinning on the bottom side. But now I need to go ahead and pump the jack just enough to kind of keep this in place, but still be able to adjust the other side. So once you go to put your U-bolts back in place, you need to check the length of the stud. In my case, I got Durabumps with the U-bolt flip kit, and it's a little long. It's not going to sit flush, so I am going to have to cut this off. You can use some type of abrasive wheel. There is a fuel tank right there, which theoretically shouldn't be leaking any fuel vapors, but you know, don't aim sparks at it. I'm going to try a sawzall with a metal cutting blade, just that way there won't be sparks going, and hopefully that should be, you know, a little safer and a little cleaner than having melted shards of metal flying everywhere. Now, most people are going to know how much lift did I actually get, and the answer is I don't really know. I didn't really bother measuring anything before. I will go ahead and take the measurements just for anybody that wants to make that comparison on your own vehicle, starting with the rear tire. From the center of the rear tire up to the fender arch, it's about 23.75 inches, maybe 23.5, somewhere in there. If I measure it straight from the ground, that's right around 38.5. So the front tire is right around 22 inches from the center hub up to the fender arch. Measuring from the ground up to the fender arch is right around 36.25, 36.25. So the other thing I like to spot check is, I always pose the question, what would be level if your truck was perfectly level? Because at the end of the day, the fender arches are just a cosmetic cutout that the actual car designer can design them to be located anywhere independently of each other. So most vehicles kind of have a horizontal seam that are parallel to your floorboards. I have a rock slider. It's not, of course, going to be a precision ground guaranteed flat horizontal surface, but I like to get a feel for the angle of that. So I do have my 4-foot level here, and the bubble is within the 2 markings for the bubble level. It is slightly angled forward, as makes sense just by visually looking at it. So on the front, I do have the Bilstein 5100 shock with the stock coil preloaded to the top notch. I think it's the 5th notch for this specific model on the 3rd gen Tacoma. And I do have the ability to add a 1/4-inch top plate spacer to just raise the front just up a little bit more so it sits maybe a little bit more level. I will say though that I do have a low profile bumper, a winch, skid plates, and of course rock sliders, and I've got a rear bumper as well. So, you know, your overall heights are going to vary depending on how much weight is on your vehicle. So if you're curious about the driver's side Tacoma lean, I went ahead and put the bubble level on my rear bumper, and it's fairly centered, although it is angled a little bit. My digital angle finder is telling me about 1.3 degrees angled relative to how I zeroed it on the concrete floor of my garage. But this is actually showing me leaning towards the opposite direction. So I actually have a passenger side taco lean. This is not something that is going to bother me. It's, from my perspective, only noticeable if you're specifically measuring it, and I'm not driving around with a bubble level on the rear of my vehicle. So this is not something that I'm going to concern myself with, especially since mine is leaning towards the passenger side. So throw the passenger weight on there, a full tank of fuel, and it likely goes away and sits pretty level. So just to summarize my final thoughts and recommendations here, my initial concerns about going with an add-a-leaf were largely unfounded. It does not have a harsh ride. It does not have a poor ride, especially even when unloaded, since I don't carry gear in the back of my truck frequently. I've specifically tested it out over the last week looking for, you know, large abrupt speed bumps, more gradual kind of speed humps, I'll call them. I've ran them over train tracks, looked for potholes, had them up on interstate speeds, and this thing rides smooth. This is largely, I'd say, imperceptible, no difference from the ride that I had with the Bilstein 5100s and a block. In some ways, it almost feels smoother. I don't know if it's because I also put the Durabump bump stops on, or if it's because the added lift height actually increases the gap between the frame and the bump stop, so maybe I'm just not making contact on bump stops as frequently on small bumps. But this thing rides great, so I would absolutely 100% recommend the 3-leaf add-a-leaf from Headstrong. If you're going for a similar lift with the Bilstein 5100s or a similar type coilover in the front, I would go this route, and I would not recommend the block. Not because the block had caused me any specific problems, other than the fact that it's a missed opportunity. If you're going to spend $100 on a block and spend the time and labor to install it, you might as well spend a little bit more money and actually get a real performance upgrade out of it. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content in these videos. We'll see you in the next one.